And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
I'll give the first 90% of this movie a 9 out of 10.
Right, okay. Yeah.
but overall, I have to give it 6.
I think you put it best, Steve, because you said that, you know, when the priest walks into the Amityville house and this ghostly voice tells him, "Get out." You should just get out, man.
That's the time to leave. Good evening and welcome to Is It a Bicycle? Season 7, Episode 24, the original and bestest ever TV and movie podcast. My name is Stephen Wrigley and I'll be your host for this evening. Beside me is a man who says he's prepared for the zombie apocalypse and yet doesn't have batteries in a smoke detector. It's Mike McDonough. Live from Vegas, we have a man who this week said, "Man, I love women's lib, bless him." It's Sean, I love cans, Leonard. In the red corner, it's our cuddly killer, a man who says it's just a matter of time before they add the word syndrome after his last name. It's Mark, superhero Leonard. Also, we're joined by a lady who's calm and sweet on the outside, but just composing a strongly worded email on the inside. It's Shauna, I love Canada, O'Flaherty. This week, we hope to discuss some movies in the shape of She Makes Comics and The Dark Valley, and some TV in the form of The Missing and Remember Me. And we'll also have some previews in Coming to a Bicycle near you. So how are we doing? Welcome back, Shona.
Hi, thank you.
We
Great
missed you so much.
Yeah.
I miss you too on the outside, but on the inside I'm writing you a really bitchy email.
Yeah, we saw that. You typed it with your middle fingers, didn't you?
Exclusively.
So, what have we seen this week that isn't on the list?
Strangely enough, I've been watching the TNA wrestling contract thing on...
No way.
That's
on
not
UK
like
TV.
TNA as in TNA.
Yeah. they're offering a contract to one British wrestler to join TNA. And it's a kind of a reality show.
Oh wait, is TNA
British
the name of the
Boot Camp.
network? Do you
British
mean...
Boot Camp, that's the one.
Total non-stop action wrestling.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's not tits and ass. Sorry, that's what I
Play
thought.
on tits and ass.
Wow, Shona.
That's just really offensive.
Wow, Shona. What else was on this week? Sean, you saw a bit of Elementary, a bit of Gotham. How are they going for you?
Yeah. To be honest, Gotham was keeping me very interested. And I'm a little impressed at the previous few episodes, how they've managed to move along the story and change it. The one weakness is still they need to give Gordon a character that isn't just he's a good cop.
Yeah.
It's the main problem I have with it. But every other person they focus on, I think things are working pretty well.
Elementary's moving along at a nice clip as well. Nice bit of
I
character
love-
development.
I loved the episode with the artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was class.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Guys, I have to say that due to recommendations from the Is It a Bicycle staff, I began watching Suits on Netflix.
Yeah,
That show
yeah.
was great.
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
It was after Mark compared how Harvey wears a suit to Colin Firth wearing a suit that I was like, I'm going to watch that
okay,
shit.
have to check that out, yeah.
By the way, Colin Firth still wins.
I followed up with Kingdom. Do you remember that one we watched, reviewed a couple of months ago? Yeah, I've watched episodes 3, 4, and 5.
Oh,
Yeah. It's good,
yeah.
obviously.
I would assume. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're a real sucker for punishment.
Yeah. I'll stick with it for another bit, alright. And The Game, watched episode 3 and 4 of that. Yeah, that's really good. It's actually, it's ramped up.
So it's lived up to its promise and beyond.
Yes, yeah. I think it's only a 6-parter, actually, which is disappointing, but yeah, looks good. Who watched Wake Up Call?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Wake Up Call. It's basically just The Rock's second attempt at a TNT drama reality TV show. There's one episode up already and it premieres December 2nd, so the first episode's already out everywhere. It's good. The format works. The only thing that I want more of is The Rock. Like, I want him to be a little bit more off the cuff rather than the reality TV show format, which is do this to the camera and then he does his joke like 6 times and they pick one of them and you can tell that he goes, haha, that's the one that they went with. So I would like a little bit more of him just showing up and laying the smackdown on motherfuckers.
What's it on, did you say?
It's on TNT, which is the same network as
Is that Tits
Falling
and Tits?
Skies.
No, it's just wondering. Shona brought it up.
You can actually see a more in-depth review of that on the Vegas Voice online website. That's what those are called, websites.
Ah.
That I wrote, by the way.
Okay, let's shoot on. Okay, let's start with the first of our movies. Mike, tell us about your movie, Mike.
The Dark Valley.
This is The Dark Valley, yeah.
Yeah, this is Austrian Western, I suppose you could best characterize it.
Yeah.
There's a mysterious stranger rides into a snowy valley high in the Alps, populated by Austrians who don't speak English.
Go on, Mike.
And he's a basically, I suppose, turn of the century photographer with a really old ass camera that impresses everybody, and he's trying to quietly fit into the society. But the society is not really wholesome in the old-fashioned sense of the word, and as the movie goes on, we find that he has an ulterior motive for being there.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, it follows a lot of the Western tropes, isn't it?
It certainly does.
Who's the? Oh, Sam Riley.
Yeah.
Who's English
Yeah.
and speaks a lot of German quite well.
Yeah, very well.
Yeah. This is
His mother taught him.
Oh, is that it?
He never knew his father.
So this turns into he turns up in the valley, is not put off by the frosty reception that he gets, and then
It's pretty Kentucky up there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very Kentucky, and
they needed a kid with a banjo.
But he pretends that he's up there to take photographs of the valley and surrounding areas and so on.
Yeah.
But the valley you can't leave once winter sets in. He just arrives just before winter sets in, of course, and he has an ulterior motive of vengeance. Funnily enough, it being a Western style movie. So. It goes from there. You know what? I wasn't expecting much from it, but it was quite good. It was absolutely gorgeous.
It's been very well received.
Yeah. And in fact, it's been tipped for maybe international Oscar.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's on the list anyway. Yeah.
When you say they can't leave when winter comes in, is that like practicality blocking them, or is that like Hotel California?
No, it's snow.
Snow.
Okay.
And really, really high mountains.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That part I get.
Yeah. So
underperforming horses.
So there's no big twist in this. It's exactly what you expect from a Western.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it sets out as a Western. It stays a Western.
Yeah.
It follows many Western tropes.
Mm-hmm.
There's the stranger riding into town. Mm-hmm. There's the oppressed people.
Yeah.
And then there's the bad gang who all have very disheveled facial hair.
Yeah. I was going to say the stranger...
It's very important for bad guys.
Yeah, and don't wash a lot. You know,
the stranger was strangely lacking in facial hair.
He was, yeah.
Like,
very clean and well
You never
shaven.
see fucking Clint Eastwood clean shaven, like, you know.
Well, he wasn't any Clint now, in fairness, but so what you think?
I thought it was beautifully shot.
Yeah.
The sound I thought was absolutely amazing. If we got a sound award in our bikies, this should be up there.
Yeah.
Just the sound of the cold as such.
Yeah.
The crunching of boots, the breath. The
screams, the gunshots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
This movie contains probably the best gunfight I've seen in several years.
You're right. Yeah.
It was just brilliant.
Yeah.
But the ending is just awful. I've never enjoyed a movie, well, not never, but not for a long time. I've enjoyed a movie so much until the last 5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't like it?
No.
And I have to agree, I didn't either. It was a big letdown, big anticlimax actually, because it was going so well.
Yeah.
Up until the last act, and it's just like
Yeah. Seriously?
Yeah.
This is what you came up with.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said, and but that said, as a whole, it's a great movie.
Yeah. If you could just arrange a power cut, sort of 5-10 minutes before the end, and imagine the end of the movie yourself.
Yeah.
You could go through the rest of your life thinking, "What a great fucking movie The Dark Valley was."
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, do you want to mark this?
I'll. Can I give a double mark? I'll give the first 90% of this movie a 9 out of 10.
Right, okay. Yeah.
But overall, I have to give it 6.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad ending, all right.
That average is at 7, by the way, Mike.
That's what I was going to say. I'm going to give this one a 7.
Wait, no, it
without
doesn't.
fractions.
Yeah.
Are you
Oh,
rounding
God.
up or down?
I forgot. Sorry, I thought 7 was. But never mind.
Somebody call an engineer.
Yeah, I'd give this a 7. Anyway, yeah, I'd recommend it. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, other people might like the ending more than we did, but
Yeah.
If you did, tweet us at
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
the Bicycle.
tell us how wrong we are.
People who have never seen a Western before.
Yeah.
I think we would be remiss if I didn't mention a small bit of casting news that developed recently. And also, I want to fuck with Mike a little. Mike, I'm going to start naming people, okay?
Okay.
And you just kind of let me know if them being in a movie together would make you want to go see it, all right?
Okay.
Okay, so, Will Smith. Okay, yeah? Tom Hardy.
Will Smith and Tom Hardy together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's more. Jared Leto.
Okay.
Don't need him. We already have
Yeah,
Will
drop
Smith
Jared.
and Tom Hardy.
And also Margot Robbie.
Who's that?
She's actually in a movie with Will Smith that's coming out
Oh, I know
much
the answer
sooner
to
than
this
this
one.
one. But she was also
The one
the
with
female
Will Smith and
lead
Tom Hardy?
in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, yeah.
The very pretty Australian.
Who is she in that?
The wife.
I know what connects
And-
them all.
Well, what connects them? Well, hold on. First of all, Mike, would you see this movie?
Your
Your interest is piqued somewhat.
Yeah, if you drop Jared Leto, probably.
Really?
Oh, Oscar winner Jared Leto. Of
Yeah.
course, I understand.
What?
Well, you should know that these...
Wait. What if Jared Leto played... What character is it?
The Joker.
Yeah. Would you watch it then?
No,
Ah, Jesus.
not a fucking chance.
See, I knew the second we mentioned superheroes or villains.
Yeah.
If there's a character in it called the Joker, I'm not watching it.
It's the largest. Not only is it interesting because it's the first live action adaptation of the Joker since obviously Heath Ledger, but because this is probably the biggest cast a superhero movie, or should I say supervillain movie, has ever put together. The Suicide Squad.
And
Yes.
have they got a superhero to fight against, or are they just gonna fuck
No,
shit
they're
up in
going to
Gotham
kill
City?
a fuck ton of people because the government will blow up their brains if they don't.
Nice.
Oh, that's
See, there you go.
There's an incentive. Yeah.
So you're gonna make me watch this, I take it.
Yeah, August 2016. It's going to be my birthday gift to myself.
Is there any kind of Mayan calendar counting down to end the world before that?
No, man, mine calendar ran out.
Shit.
I'll make you a deal, Mike. I'll go for you.
Okay, thanks. Take one for the team.
Okay.
I don't know what your problem is, Mike. That sounds like a brilliant cast. How could it not be good?
Yeah, if they were doing something other than being superheroes.
They're not. They're being supervillains, you idiot.
Okay.
Zing.
First of our TV is Remember Me, which is showing on BBC at the moment. 6-parter. It stars Jodie Comer and Michael Palin. We haven't seen Michael Palin in TV drama in a while. 15 years, 20 years, something like that. And he stars as Tom. And Tom is a man who engineers his way into a nursing home and is set up in a room to himself, but very shortly afterwards, a woman who goes to visit him goes flying out the window, along with the window and its frame, and a lot of stuff in the room. And he's not able to explain how it happened, and the story looks like it will revolve around Tom's carer, played by Jodie Comer, and the detectives involved in investigating the woman's death. It's sort of a ghost story, really.
It doesn't start off like that, though, does it?
No, it doesn't. No. It's full of shots of dripping taps and creaking floorboards and a drab staircase and that kind of thing.
Moodiness.
Yeah,
He
atmosphere.
basically lives in a really annoying house to try and get to sleep in.
Yeah.
And then as the show progresses, you realize is that, well, okay, so you're told pretty quickly by Palin's performance that something is not right because he desperately wants to get into a home. I wish my parents thought like that. And it becomes apparent then that this isn't like the pull of the retirement home. It's just he has to get out of the house.
Yeah.
And when things start to go wrong later in the show, it becomes apparent what the grounds for his wanting to leave so badly are. I thought it did a pretty good job of creating the spook effect.
Yeah.
As the show went on, it got creepier and creepier. And I have to admit, at the start, I really just thought Michael Palin was being really good at playing an annoying old man. But he had a couple of glimmers. Like, I don't rate him as one of the greatest actors in the world or anything like that. I think his body of work speaks for itself, but it's not really like Oscar material stuff usually. But that being said, I thought there was a few flashes of brilliance when he was trying to show his tortured soul, which is the theme du jour in this podcast this week, I think.
Yeah.
But I thought he did that pretty well, and he managed to be annoying, afraid, but kind of tiny bit likable at the same time, which is a tricky enough combination to hit. So, because it would have been very easy to hate this guy early on if he'd stereotyped himself completely into the annoying old man. But I think he avoided that pitfall very well. And every so often he would give in some delivery of a quip, because he was almost the old ladies' man that the nurses all go, "Oh, stop that, John." You know, there was glimmers of that in it too, which made him a small bit charming, a small bit lovable, and I think that probably saved his character. And it's by the end of the show, I really cared about what happened to his character as it progresses. So it did a good job, this show, in hooking me in. I'm interested in finding out what the story of the spook is. And I want to make sure the old man's okay.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I agree with all your points there. I think, though I'm not as enthusiastic as you, I think, to watch the second one.
Sure, you'd have watched it already if you were.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
That's what you do, Steve.
I have to make sure. Yeah, yeah. I have a feeling there's a lot more of the same coming up in episode 2. You might not
be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. It's intriguing, but I don't have that hook yet. So yeah, it was good. It was good to watch. Yeah, it's certainly the first episode. I'd give it a thriller, no doubt. It is a thriller.
But you're not going to watch the next episode, are you?
But I'm not going to watch the next episode, so I guess, yeah, you're right for pointing that out. It's a filler. Damn it.
I mean, if you want to go by someone else's definition of the word that you're using,
yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah.
I thought that this show was unsettling and surprising, which was really good, because that is not what I expected going in. I was like, oh, it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It was oh, this is really pretty. This effect they're doing, this visual thing with it. And then I went, oh, is this just about people being sad because they're, not very happy? Is that why? Because it seems like everything's just wet and everyone's bad at
damp.
In being happy. It's no, everything's a bit wet and people are old and that's not good. And someone is bad at their job and that's bad. Isn't it bad? And I was worried that we were going to get stuck there, but thankfully it started to move after that. I think, Mark, you're completely right about his performance. The thing that got me was the second he was away from the house, there was a lovely sequence of him just being driven in a car that I thought was amazing, where he almost came back to life over the course of the drive. He had a wonderful line, and I was wondering how they were going to deal with it, given the estate that he was from, where this lady and he were talking, and at a certain point he says an incredibly racist thing, and the woman goes, oh. And she's like, oh, not another one. And she's about to correct him. And he just looks at her and goes, your face.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just class. And then there's a beautiful shot. And I would have used this as the fucking thumbnail and the press image if I wanted to get me to watch it, of him with his hair standing completely on end, having just hung his head out the side of a car in a cafe. And I was like, I'm really, really happy that this guy is happy. And then things go horribly wrong. So that kind of made me sad enough that I wasn't endeared to the show for making that happen. Oh, but also what's great is that this takes the bicycle principle into account. The bicycle principle of horror is get out of the fucking house. Why are you in the house?
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? Amityville Horror doesn't make sense.
Get out.
Well, so it begins with get out of the house, which is great. And then we have to watch whether or not someone else is going to be the stupid person, which was really frustrating for me. Not because of the horror genre or because I didn't expect it. Because, I didn't like watching it because I knew it was going to happen. So I don't know. I think it was very, very good. Steve, I think this is thriller as well. And I'm not going to watch another episode. I don't have the time.
So it's filler
I'm
from
just
you
not
too.
gonna. Look at that. I think that I got away with it.
Wait, so does this show go on for 6 more episodes? Do you think
Oh my god, the tension.
what they've done already they can fill 6 episodes with?
Well, you
Yes.
see,
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Because in this episode, the I guess the story of the ghost, it's displaced.
Right.
It seems to sort of move with people,
Okay.
and I can't remember how actually. It's something to do with the house, I think.
It's tied to an object, I think.
Yeah. So,
Oh, you mean it's not in their head?
well, we thought it might have been at the start, you see, but now it seems more real since other people have experienced strange encounters with the house.
And I think that we're going to see some activity, like some actions from the whatever those forces are, as opposed to them just being kind of passive, everything's creepy things. I think stuff's going to
Okay.
happen
Yeah.
more rapidly. Or at least if it does, that'll be a good thing. If it doesn't, I don't know.
Okay, so there is room for it to progress.
Yeah. The other thing I
Yeah.
liked about it was the detectives. I thought they were quite funny. They're the comic relief. They're really emotionally removed from what's happened. They're joking about it. You know, your one died. You know, but they're messing about it. But they get caught doing this by one of the nurses. And she just gives them hell for it. You know, but then you see them a couple of scenes later, just again. You know, it's quite funny. But yeah. So Mark, you're giving a thriller, I presume. And then we
I'm going to give it a
fillers.
thriller,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to explain to you how I used the is it a bicycle strategy for dealing with horror scenarios in real life to excellent effect. But go ahead and let the rest of the guys mark it first.
Yeah, I think we're both thriller, but we have to mark it filler because we're not watching more of it. So anyway, so we all agree it's great.
Yeah, thriller.
Yeah. So
We always say that if you're in a scary house where scary things happen, then you should move.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you put it best, Steve, because you said that, when the priest walks into the Amityville house and this ghostly voice tells him, "Get out." You should just get out, man.
that's the time to leave.
So it was suggested briefly that we should have mass in our house next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we
Really?
should have like some kind of priest come in here and like say holy stuff.
Okay.
So I explained that I'm fine with it,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure there's an evil spirit here that might not be. So I said, look, you can bring him. Embarrassing. He'd set one foot inside the door, and next thing there'd be flies everywhere, and some ghostly voice would say, "Get out!" I'm sure he'd have to go if he's polite at all. So what'd be the point? And then everybody would be there, no priest. They didn't seem too enthusiastic about me saying mass. I told them that I am ordained in the Church of the White Holy Light. Apparently that doesn't hold any street cred up here in Roman Catholic Northwest Ireland. Who knew? Anyway, thanks for that little tip, Steve.
Did you recognize as the cop?
Say that again to recognize.
Robert Baratheon was the cop.
Is that who he was? He was familiar.
Where?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very.
He was in A Knight's Tale as well,
Yeah.
10 years before he did Game of Thrones.
That's right.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well spotted.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, get to the main event, Steve. Let's do it.
So we like that, right? The main event. She makes comics. Sean, for those who haven't been listening to us, tell us about it.
She Makes Comics is a documentary essentially chronicling the entire history of women in comic books. Women who make comic books being the main focus, but also women who are fans, retailers, editors, publishers, like every end of the comic making spectrum. It's directed by Marisa Stoddard, and let's get into it. Let's start talking about it. You can find my interview with Marisa Stoddard on the Is It Bicycle website.
So who watched it? Let's go to Shona. Shona.
Hi, guys.
Tell us, Shona.
I feel like my taste in film should be fairly predictable at this point, that you can tell me ahead of me talking how I feel about films. This documentary in particular ticked every one of my happy little feminist buttons that made me joyful that this type of movie is being made.
Buttons.
Buttons, yeah, I don't know.
Speaking of buttons and feminism, wait till you see the trailer we're talking about later on.
Well, there's some of that in the comic books as well, Mark. Anyways, I really like, as someone who never really got into comic books, they were never part of my world. My brother wasn't into them. They were never something that was presented to me as like a literary option. I've sadly never got into them, but I'm more and more making friends with people who are fanatics about comic books and really want to get me into them. So I have a list of some that I will start reading. But as someone who really likes science fiction and is really interested in hearing how how women get on in an industry that is primarily, you can't say it's primarily dominated by men, because this documentary talks about the fact that women for a long time made up half or even sometimes more than half of the population who were buying comics. But women have been increasingly, I suppose, marginalized in terms of a demographic that is viewed as being interested or involved in comics. And I found that really intriguing. It reminded me a lot of a discussion that I'm avidly reading at the moment and following up on with Gamergate and the place of women in video games. To me, I saw a lot of parallels, and that's something I've heard a little bit more about. And it was great to see the history that women have been involved since the beginning, and there's been a huge female readership, from the 40s and 50s, and then it was really intriguing to see the history that after kind of women's lib, and we wanted to move away from stories that were, where women are portrayed as the only goal being to find a man and be happily married, and the last page is her kissing a man.
Oh, Carl.
Exactly. And
Steve. Oh, Colin.
Now you're talking my language, Mike. But after women began wanting more for themselves than that, the comic books never seemed to catch up with that narrative, and so the mainstream comics kind of focused on men, and the women in comic books kind of became more marginalized and then underground. But then it was interesting to see the resurgence again in the last decade or so, I suppose, of the huge female population at Comic-Con, for example, the amazing writers and creators of comics, the women that they interviewed were just so inspiring. What was her name? Kelly Sue
Taconic.
That she's amazing. I think she's somebody whose comics I have to read now. She's an amazing woman. So many of these people were amazing women. Like I found the whole documentary really inspiring. It was great.
Tell me, the way they said that 55% of comic readership in the 50s and 60s were female.
Yeah.
Right. And so they gave the reason to that drop off in that the stories were all dreamy girl stories, right, rather than focusing on issues and stuff, right, and that the majority of the rest were all male dominated stories, let's say. But is it not the comic that follows the market, or is it the comic that defines the market? That's something that I found kind of strange. That kind of didn't make sense to me, because if the female readership dropped off, I don't think that that they would keep producing these stories. If they weren't popular, they would surely change the tune.
Well, they were popular with half of their demographic, but I think it's a kind of a chicken and egg story where if, after the 60s, women weren't interested in seeing roles for themselves in comic books where they were wives, then, they stop being interested, they stop buying the comics because there's nothing for them to be invested in, there's nothing for them to relate to. A lot of the women interviewed in the documentary talk about the reason they got into comics was finding female-centric roles where they say, that could be me, I identify with this character and I find that really interesting. Once you stop making that for women, why would they keep supporting an industry that's not supporting them anymore? So I don't know that you could blame the women for not buying comics and then not kind of buying their way to the table, because I think they were kind of pushed out when they were already at the table.
Well, did they not mention that thing about whatever the clean comics standard?
Yeah.
Which kind
The
of
comics code.
the comics code. So that kind of messed up, everything that they had been working on as such.
Yep.
So it wasn't so much that the market disappeared as they changed the rules and said, we can't really make those comics anymore.
Yeah.
Or that they did say that they came superheroes, the big ones came about, and I would say sales went through the roof then, and then there's less appeal to, there's less money in making female centric comics, if you know what I mean.
Well, I think the mistake is that they viewed that there's less money, but I think the point of the documentary is that that's a false economy, just because there's men who are, buying, superhero male comic books. There's, the point was well made in the documentary, I think, that there was, 50% of the population there that wasn't being catered to for a long time. And from a business model, that's just poor economics, because there is a huge wealth of money and fandom to tap into there that was being ignored because women were seen as being either uninterested or uninteresting to the comic world.
It's funny. I'm wondering what age demographic they're talking about when they're referring to this, because when I was, let's say, under 10, certainly female friends were as into comics as I was. There's lists of them. Bunty, of course. Sure, it was and Beano had as many female characters nearly as male characters. Burl the Pearl being one, and she certainly wasn't your stereotypical female character. Actually, she was more tomboy than anything, really.
And she? Judge Anderson in Judge Dredd.
There you go, yeah. So, no, it's not that I'm trying to argue the point. I know what their point is in this, and it's great. I had no idea about the history of it. I didn't realize there was an issue. That's the thing. Because, granted, I'm not such a big comic book reader now. I haven't read one in years, but I had no idea that this was an issue for people, and that, it was just hidden from me, So I did find it fascinating, all right. Yeah.
Isn't it weird how being a straight white guy, it's easy to just ignore all that stuff?
Notice where people are being marginalized.
Certainly not ignoring it, just not aware of it, not moving in those circles, let's say, so.
But it's interesting that you make that point, Sean, because as a straight white male, even if these kind of problems were solved in the morning by some fairy godmother, it would make absolutely no material difference to my life.
Actually, not to cut across you now, but I just wanted to make the point that, let's say in my own industry, let's say like we're watching *Halt and Catch Fire*, right? Yeah. There was one female programmer in there. Now, granted, she was the best one, but there was one. But it's not just that. It wasn't just there's certain male-centric jobs during those generations. And in fact, here in Ireland in the 70s, you're expected to give up your job when you got married if you're female, So I don't think it's that unusual a story, and I don't think it was something that was done to oppress people. I think it was just a cultural thing.
I think marginalization is never done to oppress people. I think it happens out of ignorance. People keep forgetting that people exist outside of what their life looks like. And I think that's kind of the most insidious type of marginalization, because, it rarely happens that somebody kind of sets out to oppress people of a race or a sexuality or, belief or gender or whatever. It happens because people think, sure, the only story interesting worth telling is of, straight white guys. So that's the story that we tell. I read even a review the other week of a new movie that's been made, and I can't remember it right now, but it's a cast based in Egypt, but the entire cast is played by white people. And it was a great opportunity to have some diversity in the casting that could have been done really interestingly. But in essence, the director said nobody wants to watch that because he himself, being a white man, was not interested in seeing any other film.
Was this Christian Bale's new movie? Exodus, Gods and Kings?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Christian Bale's Welsh.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Do you think this will be shown on TNT? No, it's just, anyway.
It was TNA, by the way, not TNT.
Oh, right, sorry,
I get
TNA.
TNT. I get. But I think, like I think that the theme of the documentary and the thing that kind of really hit home is, I think, is a theme that I'm seeing resurge a lot now, and I don't know if it's kind of what woke me up to this wave of feminism that's happening at the moment, but it seems to be reaction to, I think, a perception that everybody had that women's rights were safe. You know, we have birth control. We don't have to get, quit our jobs when we get married. We don't have to be, conform to certain stereotypes. And so maybe everybody thought like, oh, the women are doing well. We can stop worrying about it now. But then we see, issues like women being, not included in the comic book industry. And then in Gamergate as well, the way that women are being portrayed.
That's an amazing thing that's going on, that Gamergate.
It's insane.
It's insane.
I'd heartily recommend, heartily recommend, there's an amazing video essay series by a woman named Anita Sarkeesian, and her YouTube account is Feminist Frequency. And she does a great series of videos about the role of women in video games. And her first few are women versus tropes. And it talks about this damsel in distress persona and how the only time women exist in video games is either to be rescued or as an object to be killed off to create an emotional imperative for the male hero to go off and...
Except for the massively popular Tomb Raider series.
I don't play any video games, so I could not comment on any of the thing that she said, but it's a well written
in general, yes.
Video essays, and it's just hitting a lot of the same themes that this documentary is talking about, where it's saying, we love the video games that we play, we love the comic books that we read, so we're not coming to this discussion, from a place where we say this sucks, it has to change. Like both women, Anita and the women in this documentary are saying, we love comic books, we love these video games, but why can't we include women who aren't just there as, ornate objects? Maybe they can be the heroes in these stories. And as they show in the documentary, they're doing that more and more. And it looks like they're some really good comics.
No. Really?
Say what?
Sean, tell us.
I thought that one of the really impressive things about this movie is how expansive it was, given the running time. The actual breadth of history that they look at is really impressive, given it's like 80 years or something like that. It was really well done. And what I think this movie does a little bit better than To Be to K, which was the last documentary that we reviewed in the podcast, is it tells a couple of different stories and doesn't divert from the main one. So, for example, as an avid comic book reader, I knew a little bit about the comics code, but I didn't know much. And this completely gave me so much info about what happened, simply just from a feminine or a feminist female perspective. So I actually learned a lot. And it wasn't exclusively just about this. It also showed us the history of cosplay, which it could be its own documentary and is.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting, and how that related. And also, it is, having just been to Comic-Con, it is, I don't know how people can, I'm saying that I don't know if I would do it. I don't know if I would put myself in a situation where I would dress up if I really wanted to, knowing the kind of attention that I would get simply because of pricks. Just because of shitty people.
Exactly. That was one point that came up during it, was people objectifying themselves by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Haven't they brought in restrictions in the amount of flesh that you can have on show at these cosplay in Japan?
In Japan?
In Japan, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so at Comic-Con.
Probably.
Cosplay is big everywhere, but it's particularly big over there at the various conventions. Mm-hmm. And it starts to become a bit of a hooker catwalk. Mm-hmm. So they decided just to put some rules in place just to limit the amount that people could.
Well, there's no harm if there's kids going to it, Absolutely no harm, I think.
And is that based on percentages or square centimeters? Just taller people might be disadvantaged.
I never had cause to look into the small print, Mike. I'm sure I can
Such
find
a
out
Mike
for
comment.
The way that the movie is made as well is quite interesting. So I don't know when was the last time I watched a documentary that also had filmed scenes. Like it had some reconstructions, which I found it could have passed you by, but I found them quite interesting.
Yes.
They have the longest one was pretty much the one where they use the words of the people they're interviewing and put them in the mouths of just some actors that they had, which I thought was effective for the most part, but was, a little different to what you would usually see in a documentary. And I think I preferred it when we saw comic book panels helping tell the stories. I did enjoy that as well when they actually showed whether they were created for the movie or just various places, being whoever picked those examples did an amazing job. Like, they actually were like, no, this is a problem because look at this, now look at this. And and another compliment I had for it was just the soundtrack. Like, I didn't recognize any of the music, but what I noticed would happen was every specific idea or theme, whatever chunk of the movie it was, would have its own theme that was fast enough that it really rattled along. And the way it was edited matched it perfectly. At no point was I going, nah, this should probably be over now.
Yes,
like, I'm done with this idea. I don't want to. Can we move on? Like, you're kind of doing this to death.
Yeah,
which I thought was quite impressive.
That's my only problem with it. I really enjoyed this, but my only problem, I actually thought the opposite, that there was one or two times where I thought, okay, you've made that point 3 times now, but interviewing different people, not that I was thinking, let's move on, but I just thought, yeah, I got that, yeah. Yeah, no, it's fine to reiterate it, but I thought it was once or twice too many.
Well, Steve, maybe you're just more developed than certain people that they want to watch this movie, who might require a number of reiterations.
You're just so clever, Steve.
Jesus, shut up, Sean. But anyway. But no, I thought it was excellent documentary, and actually the time flew.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Sean, talking about what you were saying with the panels and the reenactment, I liked how they brought the visual aspect of their topic into the actual production of the documentary. And I liked how they made, as some of the interview subjects were discussing, a point in time where, one person met another person who would go on to create, whatever, Vertigo or something. Yeah. And then they'd have a comic book sketch of that event happening, where they kind of reconstructed it. And I thought that was really cool. A great way to bring it to life using the medium that they're all talking about that they love so much.
And speaking of visuals, I have to point out one thing that I know that whoever was behind the camera at the time went, I'm going to just film this, and when they see it in the editing booth, they're going to put it in the fucking movie. In Kelly Sue DeConnick's house, when she was just talking to her kid about how the diffractions don't quit, they do a cut to like the rules of the household, and the middle rule of 3, the second rule is quit. The first rule is we don't kill our family. Yeah. The third rule is we don't even joke about killing our family. It was this really, and also, feel free to watch through the credits to the end as well if you want to see another little bit like that. But no, I thought that there was a lot of ideas in this movie throughout, and it was really tight. And at no point did I can't really point to anything and go, I think that sequence of things you just did should have been edited out, which I think is the biggest deal for a documentary. That's my opinion anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did a great job of mixing a history and a narrative of feminism in comic books. So, yeah, I agree. I wouldn't say I was on the edge of my seat, because it's not like it's a suspenseful type of topic.
Oh, good God, what's going to happen next?
But I was, God, how would I describe it? I was just keen for every soundbite that came out. I was just kind of watching attentively every single conversation and interview. I thought that they were all fantastically done, and I was so inspired and impressed by all of those amazing women that I didn't even know existed.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice that 30% of comic book creators or writers or pencilers who are women have red hair? Did you see that? How there was people who kept having the same either type of hair or color of hair, which is why the logo She Makes Comics is what it is.
Interesting.
And why Sean is twirling her hair right now.
And why Mike's ears have suddenly perked up.
I found my calling, you guys. I did like that first cosplay character. What was her name? The redhead who looked fearsome and awesome.
Red Sonja.
Red Sonja. Yeah. Go Red Sonja.
Mm-hmm.
She looks like she should have been in 2000 AD or one of those. Was she in it?
Red Sonja. There was a Conan spin-off.
Was there? Is that? Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, played by
Swedish one.
Yeah, you one that would kill you.
Yeah.
She was a Bond girl as well.
Yeah. Can't remember her name.
Tweet us on the bicycle and tell us who she is.
But
Bridget Nielsen.
Bridget Nielsen.
Yes.
But I just have to say, like, on the thing. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say who Eddie Murphy famously said, "Damn, you're one big bitch."
I was just going to say that, what I love about characters like Red Sonja is that, sometimes when women have to come into an industry where they, want a say in how things go, they want representation, it's sometimes done at the cost of desexualizing them. They have to be very serious. The girls from the Unicorn team talk about how, if you dress up as anything, you have to be an absolute expert. You have to know all the answers to the questions. You can't just be, mildly interested in things. And, I like how they make the point in comic books that you have characters like Red Sonja who are obviously extremely sexualized. You have a lot of characters like that. And it rounds out women to a very, normal 3D persona of, I don't know, all kinds of women. They're not, virgins. Go women.
Are you saying they're highly sexualized? No, sorry, what do you say?
No, I'm just saying it's good to see powerful women being it's good to see a bit of that's what it all comes down to.
I have to wholeheartedly agree with you there. Yep.
No, it's good to see women who are strong and powerful, but can also be, sexualized, and it's done not at the cost of disempowering them by making them sexualized. It's just like, that's who they are. And Kelly, I can't say her name, Kelly Sue DeConnick makes, one of the standout moments of the movie to me, where she gets feverish in her point, like that her eyes just light up when she talks about, she's like, I'm a 5-foot woman. I look like a kid most of the time. But you give me any man and I could talk to him about power fantasies. And I just thought that was fucking amazing, because she's, I thought, that
was great. They were talking about men having power fantasies. And that's what all the male
superhero stuff
was about. That was great. Actually.
She's like, fuck that. I could raise that game.
Okay, give us a mark then.
9 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll give it a 9.
9. Wow. Sean.
I hate rating documentaries because they're so different from other films.
That's my style.
So I think that I can't point any bad thing in it, so I'm going to give it an 8, and would be happy to watch more movies like this or from Maurice Stoddard in the future.
Mike.
I'm just not the target audience for this. I didn't enjoy it at all. I have zero interest in comics. Slightly more than my interest in feminism or the history of such. I really struggled.
Hang on. We're not marking it really on the subject matter.
Well, even on the making of it, I struggled to stay awake.
Oh, really? Okay. So it was the subject matter.
Yeah. I can't really go beyond 5. Even other documentaries that we watched on subjects I had no interest in, I thought made a better effort at making it interesting for somebody who's not invested in the topic that's being discussed.
Wow, I think 5 is a pretty decent mark from you, actually.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this an 8. My only problem, like I said earlier, was slight bit of repetition, but the rest of it I found engaging and enlightening, as documentaries should be. So, okay, moving on. Last of our TV, which is The Missing. Mark.
So The Missing has been a highly publicised show in the UK and Ireland, and it tells the story of a father whose son goes missing. And I guess the show picks up with him 8 years later. 6 years later, when basically he's still looking for the child that he lost, when pretty much everybody else has given up. He rings his ex-wife, who's moved on with another fella and stopped the search. It basically says, look, I hope you're happy, but I want you to know I've found something. And that's kind of where the action kicks off. The action is in double quotes. But let somebody else talk about it.
I like James Nesbitt, actually, pretty much in everything that he's been in. So that was a plus point straight away. Good casting. It has the atmosphere of The Killing, I felt. It's a bit of a downer, the whole episode actually. But it's very good, it's engaging, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it actually, because I want to see where it goes. It's got the hook.
Did you watch the second episode?
I was going to say, you already watched the second episode.
No, I haven't
didn't
watched
you?
it yet. I haven't watched it. I was too busy watching the other stuff to do.
rough week in the Wrigley house, I'd say.
No, you missed it. I caught up on Kingdom, 3 episodes of Kingdom, and 2 of the games, so I wasn't doing too badly. Yeah.
No, not too bad at all, not too bad.
Mike?
Yeah, my heart sank a little when I saw James Nesbitt in it. I used to like him until he obviously had problems paying his mortgage and he started doing ads. Lots and lots of ads. Everything from tablets to tampons. You'd have a James Nesbitt fucking voiceover.
You're watching the wrong channels, man.
But in this, in fairness, he wasn't too bad. I managed to overcome my dislike for the man. And I thought he did quite a good job in the role. That said, I was really disappointed with how they approached the story. When it first started, I thought, okay, we're going to start with the fact of the matter, the kid is missing, and let's look at it from now. And I said, please don't do backstory. Please don't do flashbacks. And they did. They fucking did. And it wasn't just, flashbacks to say, this is how it happened. It was flashbacks showing how incredibly fucking happy they all were before this kid went missing. And there's nothing worse for me, in watching a television than in seeing happy people, enjoying their lives. That really turns me off. So I suppose the redeeming factor is that eventually their lives were ruined, and now they're really sad people. So that's something, but I think they got the balance wrong in that term. That said, the actual mystery part, the real part of the show, where they go forward and try and find out what happened to this kid, has potential. I like the ex-detective character. And I think that could become something worth watching. I just really, really hope that if they're going to go forward with it, they just lose the history part and just focus on...
So no more flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark?
Well, I quite like James Nesbitt as well, Steve. I thought since he was in Cold Feet way back on BBC, I think he hasn't put too many feet wrong, pun intended. I also agreed with Mike. He was very, very good in this. And you mentioned the killing, or the tone of the killing being replicated here, and it is. Can you remember last year a miniseries on Irish TV about a kid going missing?
On Irish TV?
That also tried... Sorry?
On Irish TV? No.
Yeah. I think it was shown apart every night for a week. And the twist at the end was they didn't find the kid. And the purpose of the whole show was to have you feel, it was to make you feel the way a parent of a missing kid would feel. Mm-hmm. So at the end, you think that you're going to find the kid, and then it doesn't get found. And they're basically saying, that's what it's like. Now go and be miserable and think about what's just happened here. That isn't the angle with this show, which I was thankful enough about. It's more, it evokes sympathy for Nesbitt's character at times. It evokes pity a lot of the time, because he really has let himself dig really, really deeply into the gutter that he's in on what seems to everyone like a fruitless search. So I thought they captured that nicely. The character interactions there were very good. We've seen the woman who plays his wife in something recently as well, but it escapes me.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. Yeah.
She was very good. There's a scene where she hears his message about having found something, and I think it all basically came crashing back. And I thought that scene was very, very powerful. She's in a bathroom trying to hide this from soon-to-be new husband.
Yeah.
Thought that was really good. So all in all, I think it's really well put together. It pulled me in quite a bit, like the flashback of the night that they lost the kid and the events around then.
Yeah.
Much as they might annoy you, Mike, I thought they were very, very powerful. I don't think anyone that has a kid or anyone that they don't want to lose wouldn't be pulled in by that and empathize with the panic and the desolation.
Absolutely.
Right after that happens.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good. Anything on TV that can make you feel something powerfully is a good show. It certainly got us hooks into me early and kept me glued. I am going to watch the rest of this. I think if I can find a few minutes at all, I'm going to try and get to the next couple of episodes that are out already. So I think it's really, really good. Well acted, well characterized, well written, powerful emotions pulled in every side. And I think it's a very compelling story.
So will you watch more?
Yes.
Yes. Fantastic. Mike?
I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'll give it one more chance. If I see a single flashback in episode 2, it's off.
So
Only
thriller
flashbacks,
filler then?
Mike.
Provisional thriller.
Okay. Mark, I presume it's thriller.
It's a thriller all the way for me, Steve. Yeah.
And I think I will too. I think I'd give it thriller too. I think I'd certainly watch a second one. Whether I will now or not, I don't know, but I would.
So it's passing the would you test.
Yeah, the would you. Yeah, would you. Okay, so next up, we'll take a look at some previews and Coming to a Bicycle near you. So the first one we've had some tweets about from D.A. Cheney. Mm-hmm. She was on wondering, have we reviewed it yet? The new Star Wars trailer.
Oh.
Yeah. So someone tell us about this. It shows new worlds. It shows new people.
It shows a lot of the flavors of the old Star Wars movies.
It does
like
indeed,
the
doesn't
good
it?
old ones. Episodes 4, 5, and 6. There were X-Wings skimming along the water. There was desert. There was speeders that looked really slow. There was a stormtrooper who, strangely, is not a clone. I need an explainer thrown in there. There was a stormtrooper that looked like he was ready to attack the block. Film reference, film geeks out there. There was a voiceover by a guy that has to be a Sith. There was an unusual lightsaber.
Yeah.
And it knew, they really know their audience with this trailer. They know exactly the notes to hit. Like it's Star Wars. The new film is out in Christmas, and then we're going to have a Star Wars film every Christmas for the next 5 years. It's for the next 5 years because that's as far as they've planned. It'll probably become every year to this time. But I have to say, as trailers go, this is the most skillfully targeted, because I'm a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
But obviously I was burned by episodes 1, 2, and 3 where they very badly lost their way. This looks like they figured it out again. But, I'm judging about 24 seconds of footage.
But
so that's a really good trailer.
But wait, it's a trap.
Who's the director again?
J.J.
Abrams, right? Yeah, I heard someone say, and I think this puts it really well, J.J. Abrams has done Star Wars better than George Lucas was.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
According to the trailer.
Because he's directing Star Trek as well, he's finally united the warring factions. You can't pick a side anymore.
But he did the Star Trek reboots so well. They were one of my favorite movies the years that they came out. They were I loved those films. I could watch them over and over again. And I liked Star Trek, but I wouldn't have considered myself a massive fan. So I would have a lot of confidence in putting Star Wars into his hands.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you guys want to know who the voice is?
Oh, yeah. Tell us.
The actor, I mean.
Go on.
Apparently Andy Serkis he came out and said that he did it. I don't know what part he's playing in the movie at all, but all I know is that's his voice. Why are you saying, are you worried it's going to be like a General Grievous type thing?
It's going to be a Sith version of fucking Jar Jar Binks if he's involved.
We have no idea if he's in any way related to the guy with the cool new lightsaber. Speaking of the cool new lightsaber, People have been arguing about whether or not it's a stupid fucking idea for it to have a little handle thing. So much that, like, Stephen Colbert did a whole bit about it for 5 minutes on one of the last ever episodes of his show. I think it's really cool because it looks cool. And everyone I've seen on the internet is going, you're going to chop your hand off, or, you know, something more valuable. What do you think, Mark? Do you think it can actually work?
There's no way.
The blades don't extend directly from the pommel, but I would expect you to chop your hand off pretty rapid.
As soon as you do your Indiana Jones flick around like that, that's your wrist gone.
They never used to do that in the original Star Wars movies, though. They used to just... Mark Hamill is on record as saying, hey, can we do some cool stuff? And George Lucas went, no, they're like really heavy. You gotta keep both hands on it at all times. If you go back and watch the fights, you can see them. They basically just like lunge at each other, and it takes a lot to swing them.
They had a single style of sword fighting in the 4, 5, and 6 movies. I don't know if that was because of the guy that was doing the choreography, or presumably it was, but there was only one specific style. I think you've captured it there, Sean. It was two-handed, heavy blade work. Whereas in the prequels, they had multiple styles. Every character in it had his own specific fighting style. And they're probably going to go with the latter here.
Hang on, didn't in a more civilized age?
Yeah.
Didn't what's his face in the second sequel? The guy who fought Yoda. He had a little kind of Count Dooku. Yes, he had a sort of a fencing style, as opposed to your medieval two-handed style.
Yeah, he had a weird like pointy one.
Yeah, I think there was a curve on it, wasn't there?
Oh, he did
on the handle,
a light foil.
It's a curve on the handle, yeah.
Not a light
right.
saber.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The best idea that I saw on Twitter, because that's where I go for my critiques, what reminded me of a sword that I think you still have, Mark, which is a samurai sword that has two small little throwing dagger thingies on the bottom. If at any point he uses, like this Sith guy uses the Force to throw one of those things, like it's like a small blade in the pommel, I'm going to freak the fuck out.
I have to say on the casting front, I heard a review, I think it was in the same essay I was reading about the Exodus diversity and comparing and contrasting, well, comparing means contrasting. Anyways, with this trailer that apparently I think there's no white people. It's a completely ethnically diverse cast in this short trailer, and we get to see
what, it's so diverse there are no white people?
No, I'm just saying that, like, if you're comparing it to this Exodus trailer, or film that's being made anyways, that you can do really good, really interesting casting, and it doesn't have to be an all-white cast.
What I will say is that this did an amazing job of going, watch this minute and a half, and then just fucking try and tell me what the story is. Just fucking try. See if you know. Because I didn't see any of the main characters, except maybe the John Boyega stormtrooper, who I have no idea of how important he's going to be. All I saw was some shit I recognized.
Yeah, totally.
And at least two people I'm interested in.
All they did was, here's stuff that looks awesome, and you know it. And then they showed the Millennium Falcon going upside down, and you're just like, oh my god, I want to watch this.
That was really cool.
I want to see it in IMAX.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so we're all agreed it looks awesome. We want to see it. Grant.
Hells yeah.
Yeah. Second one we saw was Poker Night.
Where did this one come out of?
I don't know. It's kind of unusual kind of a one. It's
synopsis there, Steve.
Dude plays poker, leaves, sees girl running, runs after her, and then gets clunked in the back of his head and goes missing.
Does he?
Yeah.
Or does
he?
That was the first question. It seemed like the poker game was a bit sinister as well as the trailer progressed.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Man,
I have no idea what's going on in the poker game, but I want
it's an
to
intriguing trailer.
Yeah.
But isn't that a brilliantly powerful trailer, though? So, like, we both watched it. We neither have a real idea what it's about, but I really want to fucking know.
Yeah.
Who's the girl? Why are his hands tied? Is it kinky or scary?
Looks a bit like the Batman baddie with Cillian Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there was a Scarecrow version of someone in it. That's the first thought I had as well. I went, why is there Scarecrow in this?
Yeah.
But beyond that, I think this is an amazing trailer for what will hopefully be an amazing movie that has a shit fucking title I would never see this.
Yeah.
I saw this on the list and I was like, poker, this is going to be shit. And for 15 seconds, the wet ass taste of the name was still in my mouth trying to watch this trailer. I was like, okay, it's called Poker Night. Click play on YouTube. Oh, it's about a poker night. Yeah. This is fucking great, isn't it? I'm so excited to see how much poker they play. And then I went, oh.
It should be called Kidnap Man, or is he?
No, I think the art of titling movies is steadily declining, and I think we've discovered one of our Bikies categories for this year is worst titled film.
There's an idea. Yeah.
But
Who wants to win a free Bikey t-shirt?
It did capture nicely. Well, the trailer captured nicely one of the rules of poker, that if you can't figure out who's the idiot in the first 5 minutes, you're the idiot.
It's good.
Speaking of bad titles, that brings us nicely along to our last one, which is called Free the Nipple.
I was so fucking worried. I was so worried about this. I was like, I'm going to click on this. I might get a virus. I might be sent to a website I don't recognize.
I was like, Mike put this one on, didn't he? Yeah.
I didn't know about this before I watched this trailer. Did any of you guys, who put this up? Who knew about this?
I presume it's Mark.
Yeah, I put this up because I am a huge fan of nipples being free.
Yeah. So tell us about it.
I have to admit, I was doing some research for the podcast, like I do without fail every week, and I clicked into IMDb, and there was down the bottom there was this thing about free the nipple, and I went, well, I want to free nipples. I wonder where they're giving them out. So I clicked on it, and it turned out, as luck would have it, it was a trailer for a film. And I thought, well, we review trailers for films. And then I said, well, I'm at work. Maybe it's not safe. Then I clicked it anyway. Said IMDb is not going to have full-on female nudity. And they didn't let me down. So anyway, this is about a bunch of women who think that the female body shouldn't be illegal. And that was when people started being naked, and I completely lost the plot. So, did anyone follow the story through to the end?
Yes. Is this based on a true story? Because I'm sure I've heard.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen this type of movement at home.
Yeah. So.
No, it's
here,
seen it.
like in
women.
Galway.
No, that's why my home in Toronto, women, it's legal for women to be topless. That was like a law that was passed, I guess, about 10 years ago or something when I was there. And
awesome.
yeah, there was a movement for this.
Well, was that a change from mandatory or?
Yeah.
So it's not a documentary of the movement, but it is very much inspired by it, brought to us by the people responsible. It seems to essentially be with most focus on two people, at least based on the trailer, on two women who are at the end of their rope, both in terms of financially and also with basically how they're being treated as women. And the line that I really liked that actually made me go, you know what, I might want to see that was, it was like, why is it that it's okay to show a murder but not a nipple?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea that because that is so true, and then it immediately goes to them spray painting "Free the Nipple" on a gigantic UFC poster.
Yeah,
I thought that was class, and the idea
where there are two topless guys.
Yeah. I like that idea, and if it's literally just about a revolutionary group going to deface property and then be naked, and here's what I was wondering, right? Yeah. In my head, I was going, so is there going to be a red band trailer? Is this going to be like a rated R movie so they can show nipples? And I think the genius of it is that they pixelate the nipples.
I was going to say, I thought it was so funny that they did that. But actually, if you look at I actually had to do a bit of research myself and watch the Free the Nipple teaser. And they don't pixelate them in that. Just interesting
really?
enough. That's the international trailer, I take it. You know? So, yeah.
What I'm waiting
You
for,
and your fucking subtitles.
What I'm waiting for is the corresponding male movement, because as everyone knows, breasts are secondary sex organs, and the male secondary sex organ are balls. So I think hashtag unpack the sack is going to be really successful as
well. You bring that up at your next work meeting, see how that gets on.
Oh, nice. What'd you say, Sean?
Let's go out on that high note.
Yeah. So on that note,
I'm looking forward to seeing the nipples anyway.
Yeah. So just a reminder, we have the Bikey Awards coming up soon, and
yes, we do.
We have a wee competition going on our Facebook page, which is we are looking for a category. A category.
A good one.
A good one. And the best one gets a free Is It a Bicycle t-shirt. How about that?
Whoa.
Which, even though you can't see, Sean is modeling as we speak.
Yep.
And ladies and gentlemen, it's a pretty fantastic
And
t-shirt.
he looks fine. Yeah.
I didn't even get a bicycle t-shirt.
It's actually...
Oh my god, it's his nipples!
Yeah, it's unisex, so go for it. Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to come up with joke categories. Like we've done it nearly every year, but we just get tired from being funny all the goddamn time. So
We need someone to be funny for us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Give us a category.
Come on, listeners, make us laugh.
Yeah.
And you don't have to
If you
use
can
Facebook.
generate-
You can use like email or Twitter.
And if you generate even 0.5 of a lol, a low, I'm only up,
Okay.
then it'll probably win.
Yeah. And a free t-shirt for just a suggestion. Fantastic. Right. Okay, we'll leave it there. So from Mike, Mark, Steve, Sean, and Shona, stay classy.